Okay, can you see the presentation? You can
Yes po.
see? Okay. So, urinary system. So, as agreed upon, you don't have classes again next week. So, next week, I will be recording the digestive system. It will be attached to your files. Kayo na lang mag-listen online, okay? And then, the last lecture will be reproductive system. Okay, so today we're going to talk about the urinary system. Functions, of course, excretion. This is by way of formation of urine. Now, together with this, as urine is formed, you control the blood volume, the pH, the ion concentration in the blood. And of course, included here is your erythropoiesis. Remember renin? Okay, renin, erythropoietin, okay, stimulates the red bone marrow to produce RBCs. And then they play a role in vitamin D synthesis. Now, talking of the kidneys, of course, the main organs in the urinary tract are the kidneys. We have two bean-shaped structures located retroperitoneally, meaning they are behind the peritoneum. They're not included in the abdominal cavity. Okay. The right kidney is lower compared to your left because of the presence of the liver there. So it pushes down the kidney to a lower point. Now the kidneys, as I said, are bean-shaped. They are covered by a capsule. And the capsule has 3 layers. The innermost layer here, which covers the parenchyma of the kidney, is called the renal capsule, which is on top. You will find a layer of fat called the perirenal fat. And then, so perirenal fat. And then on the outermost layer here, you will see what we call the Herotas fascia. So the Herotas fascia is the outermost covering of your kidney. The kidneys are located between T12 to L3 levels. So T12 to L3 level, there. They weigh about 170 grams in the adult male, 155 grams in the female. So again, as I said, the right kidney is lower than the left because of the presence of the liver there. Now, externally, you have a convex lateral part and a concave medial portion. So convex, you know what convex means, right? Pag concave, paloob. Okay. Let's first talk about the external anatomy. Now, at this point, at the medial side, there is an indentation called the hilum. And this is highly significant because this is the entry point for all the blood vessels, the renal artery, the renal vein, the lymphatic vessels. This part also, the hilar part, contains the renal pelvis. The renal pelvis is the terminal portion of your renal calyces and extends downward to form later your ureters. So yung yellow part, nakikita niyo yung yellow part? Yun, highlight ko siya. It looks like a horn. That's the renal pelvis. Okay. Internally, the outer part is called the cortex. The inner part is called the medulla. Let's talk about the medulla first. The medulla consists of about 8 to 12 pyramidal structures called the renal pyramids. The bases of the pyramids are located in the cortex, while the tips of the pyramids converge at the medial side of your medulla and form structures called papillae. So these are the papillae, the yellow ones. There. The renal papillae also project medially and form a bigger structure called the renal calyces, which will eventually become the renal pelvis. So take note, ha? Sa tip niya, papilla, lalabas will form the renal calyces, and the calyces unite to form the renal pelvis. The cortex, on the other hand, so the outer portion, consists of a layer where the bases of the pyramids are found, and it is actually the one which divides the kidneys into compartments called lobules. Now, blood supply. Okay. The kidneys receive 25% of the total cardiac output, and the renal supply, nerve supply, comes from the autonomic nervous system, which is mainly vasomotor. Motor meaning contraction, relaxation, movement, which regulate the blood flow through the kidneys. Going back to the blood flow comes from the aorta, enters the renal artery, projects to the segmental artery, to the lobar, interlobular, arcuate, interlobular artery, afferent arterioles, finally projecting towards the glomerular capillaries. So take note, capillaries are the exchange vessels, okay? And then from there, once oxygen is taken up, the unoxygenated blood exits, goes to the efferent arterioles, interlobular vein, going to the interlobar vein, arcuate veins, renal veins, finally back to the blood supply via the inferior vena cava, goes to the right side of the heart, rotates again, gets oxygenated, goes back to the kidneys, supplies the oxygen. So that's the blood flow of the kidneys. The functional unit of the kidneys are called the nephrons or the uriniferous tubules. So nephrons or uriniferous tubules. We have two parts here. The renal corpuscle, this is the renal corpuscle, composing of the Bowman's capsule and the glomerulus. So if we're going to make that bigger, this is the Bowman's capsule. The Bowman's capsule has two layers. One layer stays outside, and the second layer wraps around the glomerulus. And finally, you have the glomerulus itself. Basically, the glomerulus is a tuft of capillaries. So kung capillary yan, it is composed of endothelial cells. Composing of endothelial cells. On the other hand, the second part is composed mainly of tubules, so tubes. We have the convoluted tubules, the proximal one, the distal one. We have the loop of Henle, which has a descending part, descending pababa, and an ascending part pataas. And finally, the big one here is the collecting duct. Okay. So going back to the renal corpuscle. So as I said a while ago, the Bowman's capsule has two layers. So again, we retrace. The outer layer here forms the outer capsule, while the inner layer of the Bowman's wrap around the capillaries. Now let's try to highlight this one, the junction between the Bowman's and the capillaries, and they look like this. So the cells wrapping around the capillaries are called podocytes. The podocytes, so this is a podocyte, have extensions called pedicels. And the pedicels are the ones that wrap around your capillaries like this. So again, inside is the capillary. Outside is the podocyte with the pedicels wrapping around the capillaries. As the pedicels wrap around the capillaries, they now create what you call the filtration membrane, which is an essential structure for urine formation. So filtration membrane. Later, we'll be discussing this into detail. In connection with this one, so here, concentrate on this part. Oops, looks pretty, right? This is the JGA, so juxtaglomerular apparatus. The JGA is composed of 4 parts. Okay, so 4 parts. Number 1, the juxtaglomerular cells of the afferent arteriole. So these are the JG cells of the afferent arteriole. Very important. Why? Because the JG cells are composed of granular cells, very special granular cells that produce renin. So this is the actual specific component of the JGA that produces renin. Okay, so if you have an afferent arteriole, you also have an efferent arteriole. That's the second part. The third part are the mesangial cells. These are the mesangial cells. The mesangial cells, they say, are there normally to anchor the glomerular apparatus, but basically they have also been found out to play a phagocytic role. So they help to clean the area, okay? Clear them of the debris, whatever dead cells may be found there, they clear it out. And then finally, the fourth one, we have the macula densa. The macula densa is a component of the distal convoluted tubule. So partial and distal convoluted tubule. The macula densa is very important also because it senses changes in the values of sodium and chloride. So eto na, nagre-relate na tayo. Oh, eto na si sodium, water, hypervolemia, blood pressure increase, diba? So eto na siya. Okay, so repeat. JGA for components, we have the juxtaglomerular cells of the afferent arteriole. We have the efferent arteriole. We have the mesangial cells and the macula densa. Now, also a very important part here is the vasa recta. The vasa recta supply blood to the medulla of the kidneys. But it is a special part. Why? Because as you see, it wraps around the loops of Henle. Okay? So, it assumes now the shape of the loop of Henle, which is basically what they call pin shape. Mukha siyang paper clip, diba? So, pin shape structure. And this time, okay, it is very, very significant. Why? Because the vasa recta, okay, together with the loop of Henle, there, concentrates the urine by what we call a counter current exchange. Okay, counter current exchange. Okay, later, pagpunta natin sa urine formation, i-explain ko kung anong ibig sabihin ng counter current exchange. Okay, so let's proceed. We're done with the kidneys. These are the kidneys. Going down now, we have the ureters. The ureters are two slender tubes, about 30 centimeter long, 6 millimeter in diameter, very, very narrow, diba? So it runs again retroperitoneally behind the peritoneum and enters the supero-posterior part of the urinary bladder. Your ureters has only one function, passageway of urine. Now, clinical correlation at this point, okay? How do kidney stones develop? Kidney stones develop when solutes like uric acid or even cholesterol, for that matter, okay, precipitate first on the renal calyces. So, una galing sila sa calyces. Okay? So, kasi nga, dyan nag-filter out, di ba? So, lahat ng mga bigger structures, hindi yan papasok sa urine. Hindi siya pwedeng pumasok, bumalik sa blood. Okay? So, what happens? They now precipitate here. So, as they precipitate here, initially, sand-like lang yan. And then they aggregate. Okay? And then they form what we call kidney stones or renal calculi. Now, sometimes, the calculi become too big that it assumes the shape of the renal pelvis. Okay? So if we look at the shape of the renal pelvis, it actually looks like the horns of a stag. That's why we call it staghorn calculi. Ito, masakit na talaga yan. And definitely, here, the procedure done should be nephrectomy. Tatanggalin na yung kidneys mo. Okay, nephrectomy. But if the kidney stones are still small, what do? We do lithotripsy. So in simple stones. So what is a lithotripsy? It's kind of like an ultrasound. Nakakita na kayong ultrasound. So may sound probe, nakadapa kayo, and the sound waves are projected at the lumbar area sa kidneys mo. The sound waves pulverize or crush the stones. Kasi malilit pa siya. So once they're pulverized, makikita nyo, let me erase this. Once they're pulverized, the sand-like structures, bababa siya sa ureters, and then may ihi ng patient. So the patient will sometimes complain, bakit may sand sa ihi ko? Very good. That means na eject out niya yung kidney stones. Okay. If worse comes to worse, of course, we perform nephrectomy. Okay. Now, this is different from kidney donation, ha? Kasi pagka may nag-donate ng kidney sa'yo, let's say in kidney failure, I was supposed to discuss this later, pero connected na siya. Nag-fail yung kidney mo, hindi naman dahil sa stone. So, hindi tatanggalin yung kidneys. What do? We get the donor kidney and put it beside the unhealthy one. So, basically, you have 3 kidneys. Yan ang ginagawa natin sa donation. Okay, in transplants. Okay, there are many types of stones. We have calcium stones due to excessive mineral called oxalates. So, ito yung mga vegan diet. So, fruits, vegetables, nuts. Struvites, less common. And it is caused usually by severe infections of the urinary tract. So, if you have chronic infections, chronic UTI, you have the tendency to develop struvite stones. Uric acid stones, this is the most common because basically it's a breakdown of protein byproduct siya, di ba? And you have these people, they don't like to drink water. So it often happens due to chronic dehydration, increase with people who have gout, and diet which is too high in protein. Cystine, okay, this is correlated to a genetic hereditary disorder of metabolism. Okay, and this meron silang deficiency in a certain enzyme. I'll leave that to biochem. Okay, but it forms cystine stones. Okay, sometimes they spell it this way, pareho lang yan. And you are not able to excrete it, so therefore they are accumulated. We also have xanthine stones, again, enzyme deficiency siya. And then silica stones. Silica stones are due to herbal supplements. So, yung mga mahilig dyan kumuha ng mga yusana, ng lalaking tablet, yun. Okay. This is the most common stone developed in these patients. Okay. The urinary bladder. This is the bladder. It is again located retroperitoneally. So, take note, hindi siya kasali sa abdominal organs. Outside the peritoneum siya. And the function is for storage of urine. The bladder has 3 openings. 3. Dalawa galing sa ureters and isa palabas sa urethra. Okay? So, 2 ureteral openings and 1 urethral opening. Now, concentrate at the lower part of the bladder. There's a triangular area here. And this is known as a trigone. It is a triangular region at the bladder base, outlined by the 3 openings. Okay? And this is significant because most cancers of the bladder occur at this area, the trigone. Surrounding this area is a specialized muscle called the detrusor muscle. Okay, detrusor muscle, smooth muscle of the bladder wall. So again, in all parts of the urinary tract, we have 4 histological layers. The innermost is the mucosa, followed by the submucosa, followed by your muscular area, and finally the serosa. Again, reminder, the initial part of our lecture, we said that transitional epithelium is found in all organs of the urinary tract. An empty bladder, okay, measures about 5 to 7.5 centimeters and they're thrown into folds kung wala siyang content. So example, kakaihi mo pa lang. Okay, mag-fold siya, kukulukot siya. But a full bladder is able to hold 500 ml of urine until you feel the urge. Okay? So the bladder gets distended by the urine and forms a pear shape. And once this is done, okay, napapalpate mo actually yung bladder dito sa may lower abdominal part. Okay. The urethra is here. It is a thin-walled tube carrying urine from the bladder outside, so externally. And the urethra has 2 sphincters. We have here the internal urethral sphincter and the external urethral sphincter. The internal sphincter is composed of smooth muscles, while the external sphincter is composed of skeletal muscles. Clinical significance. Skeletal is voluntary. You can actually control going to urinate. Okay? I'm sorry. The female urethra is shorter, about 3 to 4 centimeters only, compared to the male, of course. The length in the male varies depending on the size of the penis, but it has a value of normally about 4 to 5 inches long. Okay, so depende yan. Siguro sa mga puti, mas mahaba. Ayan, no? Okay. Hindi pa ako nakakita na actual na puti. Okay. Females, since shorter yung urethra natin, we are more prone to urinary tract infection. Why? The proximity of the, okay, let me draw here. Ayan, ito si vagina. Ito si urethra. So the proximity of the vagina to the urethra contributes to this. So this is the reason why there's a bidet. And the bidet should be directed from the urethra downwards. Kaya pag naguhugas kayo ng puwet, diba? Tatai ka. It is advised that you wash your puwet from the anterior part, from the frontal part. Hindi sa likod. Kasi most of the time, kukuha ka ng tabo or the bidet, dito ka sa likod, pinupunasan mo yung puwet mo. Mali po yun. It has to be anteriorly. So sa harap, open the legs wide, okay, pour the water in between. Kasi, especially as females, I'm talking of the females, if you wash the puwet here, okay, what happens? The dirty water goes here, enters the vagina, enters the urethra, cause of infection. So always wash from the front, not from the back. UTI per se is a wastebasket diagnosis. What do you mean by that? Ang UTI, many type of diseases yan. It could be the ureter, it could be the urethra, it could be the bladder. So UTI per se is a generalized diagnosis. Okay? You can have urethritis, infection of the urethra, cystitis of the bladder, or the kidneys itself, pyelonephritis, UTI pa din siya. Okay. Now, most common complaint when UTI, we have dysuria. Whenever you see the word dys, it means painful. Dysmenorrhea. Dysphagia, painful swallowing. Dysuria, painful urination. So, yan. Constant yan, DYS means painful. So, painful urination, usually we call it terminal dysuria. Yung last drop ng ihi ang masakit. Why? Kasi sa last drop ng ihi, you tend to force the skeletal muscles to contract to force the urine out. Infected na siya. Siyempre, ma-stretch, diba? So, masakit. Okay, so terminal dysuria. Okay, so treatment-wise, we see first kung anong result ng urinalysis mo. Kung konti lang yung white blood cell, we normally don't give antibiotics. We give urinary antiseptics. Iba yung antibiotics sa antiseptics. Okay? So, urinary antiseptic, so you take it 5 days. Pero once nakita mo na high yung WBC count sa urine, then we give antibiotics. Plus, we encourage hydration, of course, to flush out the infection. Now, anomaly-wise, we have here. So this is the male penis. Girls, this is a preview for the actual reproductive system. Don't get too excited. Now, this is the normal urethral opening. Nasa gitna siya ng phallus, di ba? Nasa gitna siya ng glans penis. In some babies, okay, so may mga tao who were born with the urethral orifice at the ventral side and at the, okay, dorsal side. So here, we call it hypospadia, okay? And here, we call it episphagia. So what's the clinical implication? Siyempre, pag ihi yung bata, dito lalabas. Diyan lalabas. Shing! Agpatayok. Okay? Now, what is the cause of this? It is because of a fibrous plaque. So it's a scar formation. Congenital to ha. Nagkaroon siya ng scar dito sa may cavernous tissues sa gitna. Napupull up yung penis. And then, what happens? Urethra, hindi siya lalabas sa gitna. So, during the developmental stage, ito, na-injure, yun ang implication niya. So, nagkaroon ng scar, and then, the cells that are supposed to be entering the medial portion, pumunta sila sa side, sa baba at saka sa taas. Okay. Now, the act of voiding is called micturition. When do we go to void? Okay, so it comes from here. So the bladder gets stretched, right? So as urine is getting formed, the bladder gets stretched. So there are stretch receptors found in the walls of the bladder, which now signals the spinal cord, brings it to the pons, and then the cerebrum. Now the cerebrum here will now command, hey, the bladder is full. So it sends a feedback going to the bladder wall, causing it to contract. This is the reason why pag iniipit nyo, di ba nasa biyahe ka, sometimes hindi mo mapigilan, may konting lalabas kasi punong-puno na siya. Now, be very careful about this, especially you ladies. Alam ko maarte kayo. We had a patient coming from, I forgot the place, somewhere in Cagayan. Tapos si Lola, nag-bus si Lola. Ayaw niya mag-CR sa kainan sa mga restaurant kasi syempre madumi, di ba? So, pinigilan niya. And when they were here in Marcos Highway, she collapsed. But she smelled of urine, tapos distended yung abdomen niya. So, straight siya sa ER, sa SLU. I was an intern then. It was like 2 a.m., I think. So, dinala siya ng mga konduktor ng bus doon sa SLU. And then, pagtingin namin na ganyan, naglilik talaga ng urine. Akala namin, what do you call that? Nagkaroon ng defect doon sa urethra mismo. But no, it was a bladder rupture. So, pumutok yung urinary bladder niya. Straight OR kami. Now, what do we do? Can we repair? Yes, we can repair. Depende sa laceration. Kung malaki yung laceration, fine. Susuture mo lang. Pero kung totally warak yung bladder niya, you don't have any choice but to remove the bladder. Ma'am, saan ihi yung pasyente? Yun. Okay. Magkakaroon na siya ng supot. Magkakaroon na siya ng catheter forever in her life. So this is what happened to this poor lady. So ladies, huwag yung tiisin. If you feel the urge, fine. But then kung talagang you have to go, you need to go. Okay? So how is urine formed? Urinary physiology. Now, urinary physiology is a result of three events. We have glomerular filtration, tubular reabsorption, and tubular secretion. So let's start first here. So sabi natin kanina, about 20% of the total cardiac output enters the kidneys, which is about 180 liters of blood. Now, in each kidney, imagine millions of nephrons. Hindi lang naman nag-iisa yung nephron mo. Millions of nephrons in each kidney. Okay? So, as the blood enters here, okay, glomerular filtration starts. So, papasok siya dito, ha? Ito yung blood mo. Papasok siya dyan sa mga glomerulus. What happens in glomerular filtration? First, we need to know the anatomy of the filtration membrane. So, a while ago, we talked initially of this. It is composed of the endothelial cells, a basement membrane, and the podocytes. So, the endothelial cells come from the capillary portion. There's a dividing part called the basal lamina, and this is now your podocytes. Okay. So the filtration membrane permits filtration of water and small solutes. How? Here, the endothelial layer has fenestrations. May mga butas-butas siya. And these fenestrations allow the filtration of blood cells. Okay? Or prevent the filtration of blood cells. So, hindi dapat lumabas ang WBCs and RBCs dyan, but allows all other components of blood plasma to pass through. Proteins, okay, ions, minerals, lalabas. And then we have the basal lamina. The basal lamina prevents the filtration of very large proteins, while the slit membrane of the pedicels, nakikita niyo yung slits in between, we call this the slit membranes. And they prevent the filtration of medium-sized proteins. Okay, so do not forget, 3 layers of the filtration membrane. Okay, so nandito yan, ha? Habang pumapasok yung blood dito, nag-filter. Okay, through the filtration membrane. Again, the same. So, Doc, paano? Hindi naman pwedeng mag-filter na lang basta. Precisely. So, filtration occurs because of the net effect of pressures. There are 3 pressures involved. The pressure in the glomerular capillaries, known as glomerular capillary pressure, what does it do? It moves fluid out towards the Bowman's capsule. On the other hand, the Bowman's capsule here also exerts its own pressure. We call it the capsular pressure. So si Bowman's capsule, ibabalik niya yung pinupush ni glomerulus. It moves the fluid from the capsule back to the blood. Okay? So they're fighting each other. Glomerulus pushes the water out, the filtrate out towards the capsule. The capsule also pushes back. At the same time, within the blood, there's a protein component. And the protein component also exerts back a pressure known as a colloid osmotic pressure. And this colloid osmotic pressure attracts the water from the capsule. There, it moves the fluid from the capsule into the blood. So kung titignan mo, okay, isa ang palabas, dalawang pressure ang nagfo-force pabalik. So that the net filtration pressure is the GCP, glomerular capillary pressure, minus the capsular pressure and the colloid osmotic pressure. Let's not talk about the actual pressures now. Pagpunta nyo sa third year, when you go to urinalysis and body fluids, this will be discussed into detail. May actual pressure talaga na ginagamit. Okay, so pareho lang yan. See, I told you, we discussed this in the higher years. Therefore, as the blood enters the glomerulus, the Bowman's capsule, filtration occurs. It now forms the filtrate. The glomerular filtration rate is the amount of filtrate formed in all the renal corpuscles of both kidneys each minute. So GFR is measured as ml per minute. It estimates how much blood has passed through the glomerulus every minute. And it has been measured at a value of 125 ml per minute or 180 liters per day. This is a constant value. And we have to keep it that way. Why? Because if it is too fast, substances can pass too quickly, they do not get reabsorbed. And if it is too slow, nare-reabsorb naman lahat. Wala nang lumalabas. Problema pa din, di ba? So that the GFR is directly related to the pressures that determine net filtration pressure. The GFR is directly connected to the glomerular blood pressure, the capsular pressure, and the colloid osmotic pressure. Okay, so how is the GFR regulated? So renal regulation. The kidneys themselves maintain a constant renal flow. Okay? So, the kidneys itself, okay, kailangan nating i-control yung papasok na blood, papasok sa kidneys. How? By using the myogenic mechanism. Myo, muscle. Contraction of smooth muscles in the afferent arterioles will reduce the GFR to be controlled. The next one is the tubuloglomerular mechanism. This is talking basically of the macula densa. Now, I told you a while ago, the macula densa senses the changes in the sodium and the chloride values. So what happens? Depende sa values ng sodium and chloride, they provide a feedback to the glomerulus. Pag masyadong mataas ang pumapasok na sodium, nag-a-attract na ng tubig, di ba? Masyado ding mataas ang blood volume. What happens? The feedback is sent, they inhibit the release of nitrous oxide. So nitrous oxide is inhibited. What happens? The afferent arterioles constrict. Kikipot yung mga blood vessels, kukonti ang GFR. So this is how your kidneys normally regulate the GFR. Aside from the kidneys, the brain plays a role via the autonomic nervous system. So this is via the release of the norepinephrine causing vasoconstriction. Net effect mo, vasoconstriction. On moderate stimulation, of the ANS, both the afferent and efferent arteriole constrict to the same degree. The GFR decreases. However, if the stimulation is too much, vasoconstriction becomes too much also, the GFR drops, and this is very fatal. Now, hormones also play a role. Okay, we've heard about angiotensin 2, right? RAA pathway. So the angiotensin 2 reduces GFR. It is a potent vasoconstrictor. ANP was also discussed during the RAA pathway. This time, ANP increases the GFR. Okay. So, filtration finished. Naka-filter na tayo, may filtrate na tayo, papasok na tayo sa tubules. Therefore, the second step in urine formation is tubular reabsorption. Now, I'd like to discuss it together with tubular secretion kasi they play alongside each other. Now, reabsorption returns most of the water in actuality from the 180 liters which is being filtered. Only 1% becomes urine. So 1% of 180, 1.8 liters of urine we are forming. Okay? 99% becomes reabsorbed. We'll discuss this in detail as we go along your lecture. Tubular secretion. Secretion means itatapon niya. So from the blood to the filtrate or the urine, kailangan magtapon. Why? To help control the blood pH and to help eliminate substances from the body. So how does this work? Okay. So here, 180 liters of blood enters your renal corpuscles. Okay. You now have the filtrate. At the level of the proximal convoluted tubule, 65% of water is reabsorbed. Okay, so bababa siya to the loop of Henle. The loop of Henle has two parts, the ascending limb, pataas, and the descending limb, pababa. As the filtrate passes through the descending limb of the loop of Henle, another 15% of water gets reabsorbed. In the ascending limb, okay, so the ascending limb is impermeable to water. In short, there is no water reabsorption occurring in the ascending limb of the loop, only solutes. Okay, we'll talk about that in tubular secretion. So, yung filtrate yung continuous, papasok na siya sa distal convoluted tubule. Again, in the distal convoluted tubule, another 19% gets reabsorbed, a total of 99% water getting reabsorbed in the tubules. Okay, so doctor, what about tubular secretion? So we're talking now of the minerals. We're talking of your molecules. At the level of the proximal tubule, o yung green, papasok sa urine yan, ha? Yung red and blue, babalik siya sa interstitial fluid ng kidneys. Okay? Tandaan nyo yan. Kasi yung tube na ito, it's forming urine. So kung papasok siya sa tube, babalik sa urine. Kung red and blue, babalik siya sa interstitial fluid, babalik sa blood. At the level of the proximal convoluted tubule, so solutes like sodium, chloride, bicarbs, glucose, and amino acids get reabsorbed. At this point, some of the drugs that you have taken in, say, umiinom ka ng antibiotic, nagtatapon ka eh. Kasi dalawa ang bypass mo. Pag umiinom ka ng medication, the medicines pass through two organs, the liver, okay? The liver bypass, we call it, and the renal bypass. So, i-clean out niya lahat yan, lahat ng excess, kukunin nila. So, yung mga excess mo, papasok sa proximal convoluted tubule. Some drugs, some poisons, H ions start to become, okay, eliminated at the proximal convoluted tubule. In the descending limb of the loop of Henle, only water gets reabsorbed. In the ascending limb, no water absorption, but sodium and chloride gets reabsorbed. In the distal convoluted tubule, potassium, drugs, hydrochloric, hydrogen are being now eliminated to the urine. Okay, some more absorption of bicarbs and sodium chloride. Finally, going to the collecting duct. In the terminal portion of the collecting duct, water is still reabsorbed, remember, 19%, and urea gets reabsorbed. Finally, you now have your urine there. Okay, so this hormonal regulation of tubular reabsorption and secretion. So what are the hormones that affect secretion and tubular reabsorption? Again, angiotensin 2. Remember, RAA pathway, aldosterone, right? So it enhances reabsorption of sodium and chloride. Aldosterone net effect, pareho yan, connected yan, angiotensin 2 and aldosterone. Parathyroid hormone, okay, stimulates the cells in the distal convoluted tubule to reabsorb more calcium. Okay, pareho lang yan. What about water reabsorption controlled by ADH? So how does ADH affect water reabsorption? Now, if we define ADH, antidiuretic hormone, right? So recall in the endocrine system, we said that it is a neurohormone. So therefore, it's produced by the hypothalamic neurons. It goes down to the posterior pituitary gland where it gets stored. Now, from the posterior pituitary, ADH is released. So ADH increases water permeability of cells at the last part of the distal convoluted tubule and collecting duct. Never mind this. Ang importante, alam nyo what part of the tubule. Last part of the distal convoluted tubule and collecting ducts. Atrial natriuretic peptide released by the atria Again, in response to hypervolemia, increased blood volume. So pag may increased blood volume, may increased blood pressure, hypertension. So a large increase in blood volume, what happens? Okay, it now inhibits reabsorption of sodium. So pag na-release yan, less sodium reabsorption, less water reabsorption, you lessen the blood volume. And this occurs in the proximal convoluted tubule and collecting duct. Other than that, it also suppresses the secretion of ADH and aldosterone. So they play with each other, okay, alongside each other. Okay, let's take up some clinical correlation at this point. So anything with itis means inflammation. So glomerulonephritis, inflammation of the glomerulus and small blood vessels. Basically, this is defined as what? Sometimes they classify this as autoimmune. In some forms kasi ng GN, may 4 types of GN, isa autoimmune yun. Isa naman, result siya ng frequent sore throat. So, frequent ATP, acute tonsillopharyngitis. Why? In sore throat, what is our organism? Streptococcus. Okay. And now you know why pagka you're allowed to have at least 1 to 2 sore throat every year. But if every month you have infection of the tonsils, that's bad. Why? Kasi si Streptococcus, may propensity siya sa glomerulus ng kidneys. Kinakain niya yung glomerulus ng kidneys. Okay? Kaya, if you already have once a month na sore throat, we advise nagtotonsillectomy na tayo niyan. Other than that, kasi ang mangyayari, magkakaroon ka ng kidney infection if you do not do this. So, glomerulonephritis is due to infection by beta hemolytic streptococcus, forms an antigen-antibody complex. So, sa throat yan, ha? If it's massive infection, what happens? The antigen antibody deposits in the glomerulus and it elicits an inflammatory reaction. So the epithelial cells starts to thicken, leukocytes infiltrate the area. The membrane of the glomerular basement area starts to become thick. So if this happens, the filtration rate is affected. There's scarring, loss of glomerular filtration membrane, the GFR decreases. If the GFR decreases, you have the following signs and symptoms now. BP, headache, edema, low-grade fever, weight gain. And this is more often than not diagnosed, okay, with proteinuria, hematuria, oliguria. So proteinuria, protein in the urine. Hematuria, blood in the urine. Oliguria, decreased urine formation. Okay, sometimes they do biopsies of the kidneys. They identify the antigen antibody complexes. There. Now, what about, you've heard of this, a nephritic syndrome versus a nephrotic syndrome? Sa cause pa lang, iba na. Nephritic, inflammation yan. Okay? So, inflammation. Ang nephrotic syndrome, so here it's how it works. In nephritic syndrome, so deposition of antibody-antigen complexes in the glomerulus, inflammation of the basement membrane, and this will produce to leak of protein in the urine, so proteinuria. So signs and symptoms, dysmorphic RBCs, casts in the urine, you have a reduced GFR, which results to water and salt retention, leading to edema, leading to hypertension. You also have decreased urine formation. You have azotemia and volume overload. Okay. Now, assignment. What's the difference between uremia and azotemia? Huh? Pareho lang yan na beginning sign of kidney failure. The difference is alin ang may signs and symptoms. Is it uremia or azotemia? Assignment na yan, ha? Nephrotic syndrome, on the other hand, is there is injury to the podocytes. Remember the podocytes? Yung inner layer of your capsule. So, injury to the podocytes leads to the detachment. So, kung may injury in podocytes, walang effective na net filtration. Protein leaks out. And one of the specific signs of a nephrotic syndrome is a foamy or a frothy urine. Pag iihi ka, para ka nag-open ng Coke. May bubbles. Okay? That is very, very fatal. Please, if you have that sign, go to the doctor immediately. Ibig sabihin, nagkakaroon na kayo ng acute renal failure. So, you have high protein in the urine, leading to hypoalbuminemia. Ang mangyayari niya, nakita yun sa TV, may isang child na feature na may nephrotic syndrome. Lumalabas yung fluid sa skin. So, ang dami niyang blisters sa may abdominal area. I wish I had taken a picture of that. It's so very, very, what do you call this, pathognomonic of nephrotic syndrome. Pagkita mo pa lang, kung may clinical eye yung doktor, pagkita pa lang niya, oops, hindi ito bacterial infection. Kasi most of the time, iisipin natin, ay, ano kaya yun? Bakit siya may balloon sa skin? Ang lalaki. Tapos ang laki ng abdomen. Think of the kidneys right away. Okay? So, hyperlipidemia, loss of immunoglobulins, and anticoagulants in the urine. So, again, the same ito. Are you taking screenshots? Screenshot. Next. Wala to sa notes niyo. And then this. And then this. Okay. So we end here. Friday next week, we have a quiz. Oh, by the way, wait. It's not yet done. So all in all, if you have infections of the kidney, whether it be glomerulonephritis, nephritic syndrome, nephrotic syndrome, it leads initially to what we call a tubular injury. Okay? So acute kidney injury. The kidney tubules become damaged. So damage na nga yung glomerulus mo, damage pa yung interstitium ng tubules mo. So wala ka ng filtration, wala ka pang reabsorption, wala ka pang secretion. Anong mangyayari? Okay? So what happens here? There. Endothelial injury, remember the podocytes? Okay? Decrease in blood flow to the kidneys. There's renal hypoxia. So what happens? The tubules plus the glomerulus develop scar formation. Scar. Imagine the glomerulus and the tubules having a scar. Imagine its effect to the filtration and to the reabsorption and secretion process. So what happens? You start having kidney failure. And this goes on to become what we call a CKD, chronic kidney disease. Okay, talking of CKD. CKD starts here from stage 3 to stage 4. Now, most of you at your age, you are here in stage 1. More than 90% of your kidneys are still functioning. Mahilig kayo uminom ng soft drinks, kumain ng chichirya, salty foods, mangga na may alamang. Yan, masarap, di ba? But still, we are here. At your age, you're in stage 1. Me, I am here. I have a mildly decreased function. And it will be noted basically when you get your lab test for creatinine, uric acid, urea. Yan, makikita nyo yan. So most of us na mga nasa 40s na, nasa stage 2. So if we indulge and eat a lot of salty foods, eat a lot of high protein diet, it will eventually lead to what we call mild to moderate decreased kidney function. This is already stage 3. Okay, look at that. The GFR function is only 30% to 60%. Okay, and stage 4, 15 to 30% GFR, severely decreased. Finally, if they stop or minimal function, negative 15 or less than 15, kidney failure. Okay, so again, quiz on Friday. respi and urinary system. Okay. Stay back for the screenshots.